reason why I'm rocking this edgy, sassy 2009 overexposed Facebook profile photo energy for this video is because I want to remind you guys what it was like when you were younger and you thought that you actually had a voice in this country. And you believe that things overall were heading in the direction of justice and goodness, and that the things that you wanted to see happen might actually have a snowball's chance in happening, because we can have that future again. But in order to do that, you can't feel powerless. And I think a lot of the content that is being produced right now is focusing on all of the horrible, awful things that are currently happening in the US political climate. But remember that the people who are in power only have power because we let them have power. And so because of that, there is a lot that you can do. And so I want you to step back into that 2009 version of you that actually felt like we, the people, could accomplish something great, as I talk about 5 things that you can do to fight back. Number 1 is participating in a movement called No Buy, where you try to participate as little as possible in the US economy. And that can look like a lot of things. That can look like only buying essential items and putting a pause on any other spending. That can look like boycotting certain corporations such as Amazon and only buying from local stores, local people, so that you're only contributing to the local economy and not to these people who are currently hijacking our government. Additionally, on February the 28th, there is going to be a national No Buy boycott. So if you can just mark your calendar and commit to purchasing nothing on February the 28th, that can send some kind of message. Remember that a big part of why our government no longer represents us, and a big reason why all of this crap is happening right now, is because the ultra wealthy have purchased their power. But the only reason why they have money is because of our labor and because of our buying power. So if we stop giving that to them, they lose power. Now, a single day boycott does send a message, but it's probably not going to affect a massive amount of change. So the second thing that you can participate in and prepare for, which is probably going to have a much bigger impact on the current landscape, is something that's happening in the middle of March. Now, I'm pretty sure this video will get censored if I say what it is. We'll just call it the Big Lebowski if we're going for bowling terms. So there's a couple of dates going around on when this Big Lebowski is going to happen. I have seen February 15th, although that is a weekend, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a Big Lebowski, but I've also seen February 14th. Now, I only started seeing things for this yesterday, and it's popping up a lot, so I'm assuming that as this picks up steam, the plan will solidify. But there is a website where people can sign up, get notifications, and we can count how many people are planning to participate. I will put a link to that website in my bio. Now, beyond that, participating in a Big Lebowski can be costly for the individual who really relies on income from work. And so another thing that's going to have to go along with that is to really create robust systems of support in your community. I would encourage all people to create a mutual aid pod in your community. In my local community, we have one going where we can plan things such as doing group bulk buying to make our food costs lower, where we can talk about having community meals, where we talk about how we can spread our resources around to make sure that everybody in our community who wants to participate in the Big Lebowski can be supported. And that's a really wonderful way to share and aggregate information outside of social media platforms that may end up being compromised. Number 3, if you want to be involved in some kind of organization, there is one called Indivisible, which is national and organizes in a lot of different communities across the country. So you can check out their website and see if you can get plugged into some of their local meetings. And the last thing you can do, which I think a lot of people are doing right now, is to make sure that you're getting in contact with your representatives and you're putting pressure on them. Studies show that showing up in person is the most effective. And so if you have the time and you are close by your rep's office, please go do that if you're able to. Next up would be phone calls. So calling your representatives every day, trying to get in the habit of that every single day, is also very, very effective. There is an organization called 5 Calls that can help you figure out what to say and how to contact your representative. Writing letters is less effective, but it can be, especially if showing up in person or calling feels out of reach for you. Now, in general, it's recommended not to send a letter in an envelope because it takes a lot longer to process because they have to screen it for bioweapons. So instead, send a postcard, or you can send a fax. And there are some services online that will help you fax your representative if you do not have a fax machine. Now, a lot of people don't feel like it's worth contacting their representatives if their representatives are Democratic or Republican. So I want to address that. If you have Democratic representatives who you know are against Trump, it is still worth contacting them, because I think that the general strategy that's being pushed in the House and Senate right now is just to wait it out until the midterms. That is not enough. Our Democratic electeds are way too concerned about procedure and protocol and reaching across the aisle and trying to get whatever scraps they can possibly muster, and that is just not enough right now. So if you want your representatives to protect you in the way that we need to be protected, you need to tell them how to do that. And if you have Republican representatives and you feel like it's pointless to contact them because they are way too deep down the rabbit hole, it's still totally worth contacting them, because at the end of the day, they still want to maintain power. But the trick is you have to talk to them in a language that they are actually going to be receptive to. Unfortunately, they don't care about a lot of the issues that you care about. They don't care about trans people. They don't care about immigrants. They care about the economy. So when you call them, you have to talk to them about how you are concerned that the current policies are hurting our economy. They're hurting our ability to work. They are hurting our bottom line. And they're going to be a lot more receptive to that kind of pressure. And there's one more. I said there's 5, but there's actually 6. There are 2 special elections coming up in April for seats in Florida that have been vacated because of Trump cabinet elections. Right now, the House is controlled by the Republicans by a razor-thin margin, and if we could flip those seats, that would make a big difference. So if you are in Florida, be aware of when those elections are happening. If you are not in Florida, please consider donating to the campaign funds for the 2 Democratic candidates who are running in those elections, because I bet you anything, the Republican candidates are very heavily funded. So these Democratic candidates definitely need your help. If you have the time to do phone banking for them, that would also be awesome. I will put links to their campaign websites in my link in bio as well. Don't give up hope. All is not lost yet.